Hey guys, yes, my hair is still wet and this microphone is sticking out at an improbable angle because I'm trying to prevent pops and having it low down. I was popping. I tend to pop out of things, you may have noticed. But that's not what I'm here to talk to you about. Maybe it's connected somewhat, but I want to talk to you about this whole... I at first thought it was the Anita Sarkeesian Sargon thing, but then Laci Green made a pretty powerful pair of videos on Twitter that I think adds some context to the whole thing. Anita Sarkeesian and Sargon of Akkad, and I am calling him Sargon of Akkad, not his, real life meat space name, because that is how he chooses to be referred to online. And I think we should respect that. And these little bits of respect mean a lot. More on that later. But the thing they have in common is that they are both who they are and what they do. And then there is this extra layer of awareness around both of them about what people think they are and what they do. Both of these personalities have an awareness in popular culture above and beyond their direct audience, meaning people have an opinion about them, but they've never sat down and watched a single one of their videos all the way through. Now, I have a unique perspective on this whole thing because I have been harassed by some of the followers of both Anita Sarkeesian and Sargon of Akkad. What do I mean by harassment? I mean a pattern of things that go beyond insults, campaigns to discredit me, to smear me, threats. I don't make a list of the threats. I don't keep them. I used to screen cap them all as evidence for people, and I realized that was really unhealthy. People are either going to believe me or they won't, and I think it's more important to show a pattern of not flying off the handle about things so that when I do say, no, this is over the line, you bank up a certain amount of goodwill. And I realized looking back on it that when I did Sargon's streams back at the height of Gamergate, I did not have enough of a public reputation to be able to do that, and things went sideways. And this is one of these things where I don't think it was Sargon's fault. I don't blame him for the behavior of his followers. However, I do think that we can all be more aware of how we can tamp this stuff down. And I believe that Sargon is actually a decent dude. I've talked to him both on and off air. I think he's a very different person when you're talking directly to him, for the most part. What happened, the really bad harassment with some of Sargon's followers, some of them are wonderful. I've talked to them. We talked to them on Twitter. They've become viewers of mine as well. Others took exception to this anecdote I shared because Sargon asked me what made me a feminist. And, that this was why I went on, is Sargon wanted to talk to a feminist. And he keeps saying ideas and concepts and critiques and things like that about feminism. We actually talked about more of my biography, how I got into it. And I I used an example of when I was producing a television show, a lighting guy dropped $10 in my lap and told me to go get him lunch. And I got pissed off at him, and the other management tier people on the crew thought I was in the wrong. And for some odd reason, certain of Sargon's viewers took exception to the fact that I was not appropriately charitable to this gent who may just have been hungry. It could not have been a deviation of bitch make me a sandwich, which if you were there, that's what it was. And everybody who was there acknowledged he was a jerk. The question was, what was I empowered to do about it? And in that circumstance, I was empowered to do nothing. And so bad behavior, unacceptable behavior, which should be unacceptable behavior, becomes accepted. Well, this did not sit right with some of Sargon's followers. And there were reaction vids where people were calling me every name in the book. Again, Sargon did not do that. This was somebody who took it upon themselves to ramp it up. But things got a bit hot for Sargon. He was accused of betaing. He was accused of cowing to me. And somehow, in the minds of some of his followers, this showed what an evil bully I was. That even, the great Sargon betaed to me because I'm such a bitch. And so they decided to go after me in some weird warp defending of the honor of their guy. And strange, right? Odd. That's how these dynamics work. None of this has anything to do with Sargon. He can't control this. What he did do is he took a very different tact to my opinions on Twitter after the fact when his followers were giving him crap than he did in front of me. And so I started seeing all these things that Sargon had said about me, who was his guest, after the interview, that people were then using against me. And that's where I think Sargon made the mistake. And I'm telling you this because there's stuff to the other side as well. But I want to hold on to that. I want to get into the actual thing right now, the issue, because I believe Sargon when he says that he was just going there to see what she had to say. I am giving both sides credit for accurately depicting how they saw the situation. I absolutely believe him. I do not believe he was intending to menace based on what I know of him. And so because of that, I also believe Anita Sarkeesian. I said at the time, you can go back and watch my Feedback Friday video from last week. I said, I think she was intimidated. I think she was scared or something to that extent. I was saying, I think she was scared. And people were like, oh, come on. And no, I honestly believe everything about her reaction says she was thrown. So what we have here is two people, neither intending to do anything wrong, both in fact doing what they thought was right, but because they are members of very aggressive movements, it blew up. It was a misunderstanding, most likely. A huge criticism of Anita Sarkeesian's is she does not talk to people. She does not engage in conversation. And therefore, it's much harder to understand what she intends. In fairness, I don't blame Anita Sarkeesian for not doing Sargon of Akkad's streams or YouTube channel. No publicist in their right mind would let her do that gig. So that's fair. I like watching the chats when I'm doing things live because I find it's a bit of benevolent sexism. I find that hosts, especially male hosts, like to shield me from what's going on. And let me tell you, the chat on Sargon's stream, I know chats are usually bad. I watched the E3 press conferences on Twitch. I know how stupid people get. But I have never seen that many C-bombs, like see you next Tuesday. And the violence of the rhetoric. People wanted to burn my C. I'm not going to say it because it offends people. Burn the C. Burn her C. And I saw that. I'm like, guys, do you realize how bad that would smell? But that's how I handle things. I handle things with humor because I'm not going to let that get to me. This is relevant when I get into the Sarkeesian end. I'm loading up on Sargon on the front end because it's coming. Trust me, I am really not impressed with Anita right here. And the thing that Sargon, I think, hopefully, has learned, and it seems he has, and that's why I mentioned Laci Green, is that he could do more to cause less harm. And that in future, when you have said horrible stuff about someone online, if you seem to have no respect for them at all, if that has been your preamble and you show up at one of their panels, expect them to assume that you're there to screw them up. Now, I find it incredibly ironic that Anita Sarkeesian, of all people, has this complaint. I really believe that at least somebody in that little gaggle with Sargon had a camera rolling and was prepared to just take her apart no matter what she said after the fact. I think Sargon may have been giving her the benefit of the doubt. I don't think everybody there was. That's hard to believe based on the rogues gallery I heard was in attendance. And I know that game. Why? Because the exact same groups have done the exact same thing to me. They twist what I say to make it seem worse than it actually is. And instead of reaching out to me for comment with questions, they just do a 2-hour stream shredding a 20-minute video I did. It's ridiculous. This is not dialogue. This is not discussion. This is not even debate. This is a metaphorical firing squad. If you want to do these hit videos, you go right ahead. That's your right. But don't say you're doing anything but that. Okay? But all that being said, as someone who has been in this situation, what the hell does she think every video game designer with a female character in their game feels about her? Like, the lack of self-awareness here is galling. I think Sargon is showing some lack of self-awareness. We all do from time to time. I know I do. But this is off the charts. Keep in mind, and I mean, that's why Laci Green's video is so important. It's on Twitter. I recommend, they're not that long, not like this video. They're not that long. I recommend that you go and check out what Laci did because it's very humanizing. I'm worried about her right now because she is in a very lonely place. I know that place. I inhabit that place. And I was never really on the inside to the extent she is with that whole social justice cabal. I can only imagine the strength it is taking her to do what she's doing right now. I greatly respect it. And going out there and talking about pain in an environment where the knives are out for her, that is an act of real bravery. And it is an act of real bravery for Laci to see Sargon as a person. And I commend her for that because I think that that is what's lacking in all of this stuff. Anita Sarkeesian's opponents do not see her as a person. Sargon of Akkad's opponents do not see him as a person. They are both people. I want to say that because I'm going to be very, very rough for the greater good on the Feminist Frequency response. I am not condemning what Anita did in that moment. I think she panicked and she behaved accordingly. I won't even say she behaved badly because people cannot be expected to behave at their best when they're legitimately freaked out. And I believe she was freaked out. So let's get in. There we go. Okay. I'm going to be brutal on this. You can see the date stamp of when I recorded this. I'm leaving it open. I'm leaving all my bookmarks and everything like that open so that you can see that this is not altered in any way. You can go look at the link as well. Again, I want to separate my comments about this official response and what she did at the time. I think it was a gaffe. She is not good off script. And I'm going to be brutal here, but at the end, I'm going to say, I'm saying this because I'm concerned on multiple levels. This is coming from a good place. So you Feminist Frequency people out there who have engaged in your own harassment against me, who have gotten me blacklisted in this industry, who have basically made people afraid to support me because it crosses your ire, and they don't want that. They don't want the trouble of treating me like a human being because you have sent up the flares in this damn industry that anybody opposes you is subhuman and bad for women. So if you think his behavior is bad, you better look in the damn mirror and check yourself because you are guilty of everything that you accuse them of. The problem is you are more effective at what you do. You actually cause people to be shunned in this industry. People deny me interviews and don't want me covering their product because I am anti-feminist frequency. Not because people who think you're right, but because they're afraid Okay, everybody is afraid of getting spanked by the Feminist Frequency paddle because that is a rallying cry to the Twitter mobs. Think about that. Think about how you feel right now. The next time you try to attack a game because you don't like it, make very, very, very sure that what you are criticizing is actually something that you can back up, instead of just something that makes you feel personally uncomfortable or that you don't like, because art is sometimes uncomfortable. Oscar Wilde, Bernard Shaw, both these playwrights, these authors made work that was deliberately uncomfortable for the audience. I could name others, but those are hoity-toity names that people, first of all, they're on the left. But these are deliberately designed to make people uncomfortable. So you got to be very, very careful when you take a social justice rallying thing because something's pernicious. And give me a break. It's not okay to like these games anymore. You say you like these games, you get tropes versus women slapped in your goddamn face. Wake up! Wake up when you start pissing and moaning like this. Okay, rant over. Now I explain to you why I'm angry. Okay, because I am angry here. I think this is just... I think the people around Anita are throwing her into these environments because she's clearly scared. She is clearly not comfortable. And you people around Anita, you have to stop doing this. It's not good for her. It's not good for the causes she supports. And it's not good for the general online community. You are complicit in the tone of the internet. Wake up! Because here's what she wrote. She basically confirms Sargon's story that she singled him out. He didn't actually do anything but sit there. Why do we still have to talk about the harassment of women? Because I think one of my biggest harassers is in the front row. She corroborates this, so that's good. We have facts in common. They will no doubt plead innocent and act shocked at what they characterize as the outrageousness of such allegations. What are the allegations? Their presence was plainly not, as one of them later said in an apology video he posted to Twitter, to give us the chance we never gave them and to hear us out, but it was instead to intimidate me and put me on edge. You don't know that, Anita. You don't know that. Give him the listen and believe that you want. Because this is what people do to you. This is the thing you say is so wrong. They don't believe you when you say you've been harassed. It's the golden rule. Give what you want to get. Do not shoot people down and expect kindness and compassion when it's up to you. People don't do that. This is uncharitable and petty. Who cares why he was there? This is her trying to defend a gaffe. And I get it. It's embarrassing. She was publicly embarrassed badly. But instead of being self-aware and going, I saw them and I panicked and I'm sorry. This is what happens when you're under siege all the time. She accuses them of a thought crime. This too is part of their strategy, gaslighting, acting in a way intended to encourage me and their other targets to doubt ourselves and to wonder if all of this isn't just in our heads. Yes, the purpose of people like Sargon of Akkad is to make feminists like me and different kinds of feminists like Anita Sarkeesian doubt our convictions. This is not a bad thing. This is a good thing. It's like tempering steel with fire. It's important. If someone's criticisms make you question yourself, that is not the same as a personal attack. And yeah, Sargon goes over the line that way himself. He has a habit of saying someone is a stupid person, someone is an idiot, instead of saying that the statement does not hold up, or if you're going to be less nice, the statement is idiotic. There is a difference at going, this statement is idiotic, which is not the best way to keep things on an even keel, but is attacking the statement, not a person, and saying this person is stupid, this person is garbage. Sorry, Anita. I'm giving you the benefit because you were freaked out. But if all things were equal, which they weren't, that would have been wrong. You would have been in the wrong. Did I not sincerely believe you were freaked out? I give you some rope for that, but you're choosing to hang yourself with it in this response. But to anyone who examines their patterns of behavior with clear eyes, the intentions of their actions are undeniably apparent. No. The first thing you learn about people is people are not simple. I completely believe that they were so clueless as to think, yeah, I'll just sit in the audience. Now, I wouldn't go to one of her panels because I don't want to be blamed for causing trouble precisely like this did. But I really do believe, because we're talking about masculine socialization versus feminine socialization, for some odd reason, guys can say horrible shit to each other and then be in the same room, and it's not the same. The social penalties for guys talking shit about each other are not as strong as two women talking shit about each other, because we get dismissed as a catfight and men don't. So if you're supposed to be some big gender scholars, feminist frequency group, why don't you know that? Why don't you know that masculine socialized assumptions about these social interactions and feminized assumptions about these social interactions are not the same? And then she brings up how much money he makes. He literally profits from harassing me and other women. No, Anita, Sargon profits from making videos that people want to watch. He doesn't make a single direct penny from harassing everybody. He's waking up to the fact that he has caused people real pain. The language changes here. Yes, it goes back to her stump. But there's also little things, the floridness of the prose. It stops being academic and starts being almost purple prose in the adjectives and things like that. And someone who tends to hide their emotions with the language of academia, this is very telling. So this is a central paragraph to me. Because of the constant flood of threats and harassment I have received over the past 5 years simply for being a woman who argues for the basic humanity of women in a deeply misogynistic culture, I went for a very long time rarely participating in public conversations. Being a target of cyber mob harassment is a traumatizing experience, though harassers seek to deny this. One tactic of theirs is to dismiss the very idea, to say that everyone online is treated the same, everyone online gets called names sometimes. In fact, there is simply no comparison between being occasionally mocked or insulted online as a male anti-feminist who occupies a position of power in an overwhelmingly sexist patriarchal culture, and being a woman who receives a never-ending torrent of abuse while fighting tooth and nail to create an online culture that is a little less misogynistic and a little more equitable. Now, I believe she believes that. I believe she believes that all male anti-feminists get is called some names sometimes. Now, because I was involved in that story I told off the top where Sargon's own audience turned on him, I can state with certainty that that mild form of internet unpleasantness is not where the buck stops. There are outrage warriors on the right as well as on the left. And one of the things they have in common is if you cross them, if you suddenly can't give them just this daily dish of talking points that they will pay for on Patreon and click on views and make you a lot of money, you cross that, boom, you get it way worse than anyone in the opposing camp gets. And Sarkisian clearly doesn't remember that whole Stormfront thing with Sargon, where friggin' white supremacists were going after him. So I'm sorry, Anita, you are gaslighting. It is not just petty name calling. I've watched it. People treat you the way you treat people. And people tend to treat people the way they expect to be treated themselves. Not the way they want to be treated themselves, the way they expect to be treated. And this is going on here in spades. You wonder why people don't give you the benefit of the doubt, Anita? Read your own writing. You are setting that tone. I say this because this is something you can control. You know, yeah, she'll probably stop doing panels for a while, but that's the wrong lesson. You don't like being treated this way? Stop treating people this way. Stop gaslighting other people. You don't like being gaslit. Now, you don't know. She doesn't know what Sargon has gone through because she probably has him blocked. He's probably on the same block list that I got caught up on. So how do you know what he goes through? How do you know what his experience is? You don't. You're assuming. And as my third grade bus driver said, when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. Now, this is a valid point. This is a valid point. When you have a history of harassing someone for years and you show up at the front row of their panel with a camera and an entourage, that is not an act of good faith, to put it mildly. This is itself an act of intimidation and harassment. That's true. I don't think they realize that. But I will give her that one because I have been so brutal on anything else. That's the takeaway for that group. If you are going to be completely uncharitable to someone online, expect them to think you're up to something when you walk into their panel. That should be common sense. It's not. And I know this because the number of people that have come at me, and then the minute I actually have a discussion with them, they start telling me this whole sob story about their life and all this stuff. And I said, why do you expect me to care about the stuff you're going through when you started off so abusively towards me? And the answers never make any sense. People are crying out. People are desperate to be noticed. And the problem is that behaving, that acting conscientiously doesn't get you noticed. You have to piss a whole bunch of people off and then they'll go, bleh! But then they notice you. The thing is, and trauma therapy speaking here, if you constantly run from your demons, if you constantly run from the things that are scaring you, they get worse. And this is why I'm deeply concerned about what I'm reading here. Now he and his followers are acting as if me publicly calling him a garbage human is the equivalent to what he has done to me. No, that's not what's going on here. What's going on here is it's tactically improper because it's hypocritical. And it's just, if you don't like bad stuff, don't do bad stuff. You know, be the bigger person. Be the bigger person. Like, the argument is not that calling somebody a name once is just as bad as being, you know, pilloried on the internet for 5 years. No. But the question that is posed, if it's so easy to, can't we all just get along? Why can't you be an example of it? You know, when Anita's back was against the wall, she acted really no better. She could have chose to ignore him. Could have. She didn't. And I think that's okay because she was freaked out. But fucking own it, okay? This is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give her permission to own saying, yeah, he was there. I was intimidated. I got defensive. Boom. Honest, simple. Everybody can understand it. Human. I don't know why the people around Anita Sarkeesian are discouraging her from being human. She is backing up the patriarchy here with this academically inclined thing. Like, now she's appealing to strength, masculine strength, okay? Not feminine like Wonder Woman strength. This is a very traditionally masculine form of strength she is appealing to, fighting fire with fire instead of fighting hate with love. In truth, he and his followers cannot begin to imagine what it is to have to constantly beg for and fight for your basic humanity in a culture that fundamentally refuses to acknowledge it. Honey, you were on the Colbert Report. What more do you want? He cannot imagine what it is to spend years and years being the target of floods of harassment and hate and then go out there and keep fighting. Fighting? What are you fighting? Again, I say this as somebody who's been through it, is you're seeing it as a fight instead of a discovery. Try seeing it as a discovery and see how the temperature goes down. The companion of his, who made that apology video I referenced earlier, also tweeted that women are powerful enough to deal with things like workplace harassment to rape, as if power is in accepting a culture in which women are second-class citizens, in which misogyny, workplace harassment, and rape all the norm. Fuck that. I'll never settle for that. You're damn right I'm powerful. After everything I've been put through by Sargon and the other men just like him, I'm still powerful enough to go out there to try to change it. But you're not changing it, Anita. What women desperately need especially if the world is as bad as and scary as you say it is. They need tools to overcome the stuff that they are going to get in life. Men do not have it easy, but there are enough roadmaps for men to navigate these various public spheres. Until very recently, the public sphere was male. Women were hidden behind closed doors. So we're still figuring out how to do it when guys have a lot more tools at their disposal to do it. And the place you have power is to help develop those tools. And that would be something I would love to work with you on. Resiliency tools. I think you could use some. You shouldn't still be this angry. That is fronting again. After that paragraph in the middle I thought was very sincere, this is what she's supposed to say. It's not a fight. It's not a fight. It's a discussion. You know, this is the language of the left, that we will fight. Fight what? You're fighting each other. You go out and fight people who are causing harm. But first you have to identify the harm. And the harm, as I see it, is that women are afraid to try because we do not have the supports when stuff like this happens. And the reason we don't have the supports when this stuff happens is there are plenty of people who have written books and books and books and made videos about how bad it is for women and how horribly misogynistic culture is and how awful and how Handmaid's Tale, you can't win because you're a fertile woman, all this stuff. What we don't have and what men do is, all right, you got knocked down. How do you get up? Fucking Rocky, man. It's not how hard you hit. It's how hard you get hit and you keep getting back up. Men have those stories. Men have those traditions because men are encouraged to go out there and get hit. And there are a lot of men right now, and this makes up a big portions of the men's rights movement, who are tired of being the ones that have to go out and get hit. And you know what? They have a point there. You can't physically overpower a man. But this isn't about physically overpowering. This is about the mind. This is about making a valid case. This is about a hearts and minds argument. And there is no reason for a woman not to expect that she can do just as well as a man. Now, we know that in some spheres we have to do even better than men to be taken seriously. Welcome to my world. But it's doable. If someone can't sit in the front row without you losing your shit, you ain't fighting. You running away, girl. And there's no shame in running away sometimes. You fights and runs away, lives to fight another day. We all know some days you draw aggro. Sometimes you want to use a bow and arrow, which means keeping your distance. And if you're a bow and arrow fighter, Anita, that's fine. If you're a ranged weapons specialist, that's fine. That means you're not going to be out there in the front lines. But there are trade-offs to that. If you want to throw those punches like you have done to video game developers again and again and again and again and again, and if you want to throw the punches at gamers like you and your compatriots have done again and again and again and again and again, in order to earn the respect of this industry, instead of everybody just being irrationally terrified of how you're going to terrorize their product, then you have to show you can take a few hits. That's how this works. That is what fighting means. That is what being a warrior means. It means you're gonna get knocked down, but you get back up. And you know what? You can't whine about it. Because if you really look at it, you threw the first damn punch. You went after Princess Peach. You went after Lara Croft. You went after Ellie from The Last of Us, for God's sake. Like, there is no female character in games that you have not gone after. And that is your right. But you need to understand the deeply personal, tender, vulnerable relationships that gamers have with those characters. And what you call harassment, in a lot of cases, not always, there has been some legitimate stuff, but in a lot of cases, these things that are harassment are howls of anguish from gamers because you are traumatizing them. You are saying the thing that got them through a painful adolescence is evil and harmful. So you better be prepared to take a few blows. I'm not gonna walk around feeling bad because of something that happened on the internet. I'm gonna find a way to process it and move on. I am tired of talking about female pain. I am tired of feminism being what Christina Hoff Sommers calls fainting couch feminism. We need Wonder Woman feminism. We need the kind of feminism that allows women to go out there, throw down, make mistakes, learn from them, do better next time, and become heroes. And we can't be heroes if we're constantly focusing on how scary things are. So enough. Goodbye to all that, to use the phrase. We are adults. And if we do something wrong, it doesn't matter what the other person did. If we do something inadvisable, it doesn't matter what the person did. If we have a bad moment, as I did back in the day with the Witcher 2 game, and everybody jumped all on me, and I'm like, why? And then I realized I was responding emotionally to a game. And for somebody who didn't understand that emotion, it didn't make sense, and they got upset, and I understood. So I said, I was, that was when that was before I got treatment for PTSD. I was triggered. I was having a thing. And people still get on me for that, but I can say I was honest with myself. And that's what I see. I see trauma all through this. And if you don't get help for trauma like this, the trauma destroys you. And I'm not saying this as somebody who hasn't been through it. I fought my battle. That is the fight. That is the fight right there. When she's speaking of the fight, it's the fight against the trauma. It ain't anything else. And I know most of you are still not watching this, but I wanted to do it because this matters. And I'm sure I'll catch crap. I might not read the comments on this one. That's my choice, but I probably will. But thanks for watching. If you stuck through it to the end, thank you. See you on Feedback Friday and the feedback session for those in the know, for those who are Kickstarter backers. Okay? Okay. Red signing out.